Hey everybody, welcome back to the Walk on Tour United. My name is Dylan Litchfield, here with Dave Covert. And by the way, if you hear background noise, it is thundering and lightning where I'm at. So please excuse that. But Dave, dude, welcome back, or not welcome back, but welcome to the show. Thank you for being on.
Very cool, very cool. Yes. I know we've talked a lot, and I know you've been like, hey, get on this. We got to do this. We got to do this. We got to do this. So, yeah, I'm glad that we're finally getting down and doing this. So,
Agreed. So and we're trying a new platform. Normally everybody has seen the interviews where we're side by side. So Dave is in Cherry Log, Georgia, or Blue Ridge, Georgia. And I am in Greenville, South Carolina. So we're trying it online, and we're going to see how this goes. But dude,
I will mention too that the storm that's hitting you is also hitting us too. So
okay, so it's on both ends. All righty. So, dude, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm trying to think. I'll just start from the beginning. I was born up in Michigan, up northern boy, but I came down here, so don't crucify me yet. I left like 4 years later when we moved down here to Georgia. So I've been pretty much in Georgia all my life. So and so I was in Georgia all my life, and I've also pretty much grew up in church all my life. So that's where I think mine's interesting, is because I grew up in understanding that there was a God, that there was Jesus. And that I knew that from as a young child. That was just foundational. I knew that. So that was always everything. It was always church on Sunday. Get up, go to church on Sunday every single time. So I pretty much stayed around North Georgia, Buford. So what's funny is that you talk to Ryan, and what's funny is that we were 15 minutes apart from each other, never knew it. We were like right beside each other. So it's funny how now we're both part of the same family. So that's a very interesting point. And so if you guys have not seen Ryan Cribb's testimony, go check that out too. So I'm going to plug that in, a little shameless plug for my brother. And also Josh, his other brother, has also a testimony with you as well.
And Tony.
You're right. It was,
eventually we're going to get the whole Boyett clan in on this.
Come on over, and you'll just be able to run through us all. All right. So back on track here. So we're back I'm in Georgia, and everything really started because everything was just your typical Christian life, right? It was just going to a big church, was part of Free Chapel Worship Center. It was kind of small that it is now today, where it's just absolutely massive. But Pastor Jensen Franklin, if anyone's heard of him. And it was except for when my parents went on an Israel trip in 1998. That is when they started waking up to, there's 5 books in the Bible in the beginning that actually pertains to our lives. Like, we need to start studying this. So in 98 is when our lives kind of started changing a lot. I remember it very vividly because it was like right before Christmas too. So like, what? We're not going to do Christmas. That's what my mind.
It seems like in a lot of cases that's the way it ends up being.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So I was like, okay, but like inside my mind, I was kind of like, I'm okay with this. This is all right. Okay, Jesus, Yeshua. Okay, no big deal. I was fine with that. Whatever. It didn't seem like a big deal. So we got joined into the Messianic Judaism, and we started going through congregations around there, and started learning a lot, and I started realizing how Torah is involved in our lives, and how that was starting to I think, wow, that's amazing. So it wasn't too hard of a transition. Like, forgetting some of the pork stuff was a little bit of a challenge, right? But that's all I've known too, because it was mainly like parents driven, right? It was all about being a part of Jesus and like just praying to Jesus every night. It was all about that in the beginning. But then when we started getting into Torah, it was about now actually studying and getting in. Like, we were actually now getting in deep. And at that point in my life, when I was young, like that was like 8 or 9 years old when that started happening. A lot of stuff was just going over my head, right? We were sitting down to do Shabbat service, like doing Shabbat, and I was like, what? Like, this is kind of cool, though. It's kind of cool. We're always doing something every weekend. This is really awesome. Every Friday night, we're always doing something really cool. So I didn't think anything of it because it really didn't apply to me at that point. It was just me going through the motions with family.
Right.
When it started to change, though, was when we were helping out some Messianic congregations, and we were just I think we were just sick and tired of just dealing with a lot of the stuff going on. And we decided we were called up to the North Georgia mountains, and we were actually specifically in LJ. and we were called away from all that. It was, for me, it was amazing because it was right in my teen years. I was out in the woods every day. It was tough to get in though. My parents, it was a struggle for them to make it in there. It was a struggle. We lost so much money trying to get in, and the .com crash happened. It was like 2001 when this happened. So it was rough.
Wow.
It did. My dad was all involved in computers. So when that happened, it was bad. It got rough real quick. And the thing though is that I learned when it gets rough, that's when God really got his eye on you. He's really got his eye on you. Like, okay, you are going to survive this. You are going to get out of it, but it's going to be a little bit. It's going to take some trials and tribulations to get you to where I want you to be. So what I was happy about, looking back on my own life, I recognized how much my parents tried to make it as easy of a transition for me and my brother as possible. But they try to take on all the stuff that they could to make it as still as nice of a life as possible. But our family got so close because of that, because it was all the pressure, it was all the bills and all this stuff. And we didn't have a lot of friends. We moved to another location. We didn't really have a lot of people. This was us. This was it. We had to dig in. So for a couple of years, it was just us and the Word. It was us and the Word, and that was it. We were like in the middle of nowhere. That's it. We had to hunker down and just get into the Word. And when it got tough, that's what kept us going through. And eventually, like lots of other people, we had some families start coming out and going, hey, well, why don't we get together on Shabbat and let's do something?
Oh,
and those were some amazing times. That was huge for me. That's when I believe my relationship with the Father started to get started, because it was all about having people over. It was all about getting the house spotless. I don't know of anybody here in the South where it's like, if you're part of those households where you're doing home fellowship, I give you guys props. I know how much work it takes to get that house ready when people come over. We were doing this every week, every single weekend we were doing this. So I knew Friday, that day, that was cleaning day. That was just getting everything ready to go because there's people coming. So I understand that was a lot. That's a lot of hard work. But it was all about the anticipation, right? It was all about the anticipation for Shabbat. So we do that for a couple of years. We have people come, we have people go. But it was a fantastic time because it was such a peaceful place. You couldn't hear anything. It was just the birds in the air, and that's it. Sometimes we had Shabbat outside. Those were amazing times. We had some outdoor speakers. We'd have music going on out there. It was fantastic. And then that's where I felt like starting to learn more about Scripture, because we were all involved when discussion was going on. A lot of discussion was way over my head, but I was listening. I was still listening to what was being said. I was still like, okay, so that's why we don't do this, or okay, so that's why we don't agree with this, or that's why this is not good, and that's why this is what we want to do. I was like listening to all that stuff, right?
And you're about how old are you at some point in time?
I was in still my teen years, right before like 16. So
okay, because I had a feeling you weren't still like 7 or 8 at this point. But so
no. Yeah, 13. Like that's my growing up years, right? The 13, 16. Like that's when like I'm outside playing outside all day long, as much as I could. I was trying to get out and do that. That was me right there. But on Shabbat, it was all about like, and we'd start like 10 and end at 6 p.m. Like we all day long, day long. Yeah, so it was constant. It was no like we're gonna go do our own thing. It was no, y'all are gonna hang around here. You might be able to play around with some stuff on the floor, but you're gonna be hearing the discussion going on. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I wasn't participating, but I was listening. I was listening to a lot of what was being said. So a lot of the stuff was getting ingrained in my head, and I started learning some Hebrew. So I don't know how to speak it, but I know how to at least. I can tell you when some Hebrew flashed up. I can tell you, like, okay, that's what that sound is, but I don't know. Sometimes I don't know what the word means. But they gave us like Hebrew class. We had some guy. We had a guy come up that was a family friend that helped teach how Torah service would go, helped say some of the blessings, how to learn that kind of stuff. So I learned a lot, and I was a sponge, man. I was like, give me all of it. Give me all of it. I want all of this. So then a lot of it started to change when then the Father blessed us with somebody else coming and buying the house that we barely squeaked in with. They came and they bought the house, and we were so happy because it was like a relief. Finally, I could see the relief on my parents' face when that house was finally sold. And we moved back more towards the civilization area, back towards more of the Canton area, Ball Ground, Canton. So that's a little bit north of Atlanta. We moved back into there, right? We still kept on the home fellowships. Every week, we had people come over. Every week, people are coming. But we've been doing this for years, man. We've been doing this for years. It started getting tiring. We started getting real tired. And so then we went to another congregation. And the congregation was great. It was still helping still values, right? It helped still teach us things that we needed to know. But I was like at that 17, 18-year-old period. Now I'm thinking job. I'm thinking school. I'm thinking about life. I spent most of my life in all this other stuff, and look where it's gotten. Now we're just sick and tired, and we're just not wanting to do this anymore. So it's all about hanging out with friends and just going for whatever life needed to throw at me. Because now I'm like, okay, I'm 18. I'm ready to take on the world now, right? That's my idea. It's like, I'm ready to take this on. Let's go. And that's when I start getting lazy. That's when I start getting complacent. I didn't want to seek the Father. I didn't want to seek the Father in decisions that I thought needed a little bit more of a higher authority to make. I thought, okay, I got this. I've been trained in this. I got this. Let me just do this myself. I got this. Let me just take the bull by the horns of life and let's go with it. That bull is hard. That bull kicks. And it does all kinds of twisting motions to get you off. And I was like, oh, I must still hold on. I got this. Well, when the pressure was on, it's like, hey, why don't you come over to Shabbat? Remember, like, I've been ingrained with Shabbat being the day of that was over. That was not your time. It was God's time. That was God's time. You had nothing involved in that. You couldn't do anything on that day. That was God's time. But I gotten so complacent. It was like, if work needs me, I'll show up. That's the first mistake, right? If work needs me, I'll show up. It's like pulling oxes out of the mud. That's like the most common excuse I hear from everybody, right? Is not making that effort. And then all of a sudden it's, hey, you know what? Just put me on for Saturday. It pays better. Just put me on. Just put me on the schedule. Just write me in. It's all good. And that time of complacency, I didn't realize that the Father was right there like, hey, something's coming. You don't know, but something's coming. And then I want to be very clear how earth-shattering and how foundation cracking the subject of divorce is, because that is when it got tough. That's when I knew this was real life. This wasn't kidding around no more. I remember the time when my dad told me, I don't think your mom and I are going to be able to work this latest thing out. It might just not resolve ever. And I remember I felt like the foundation just splintering, cracking. Like my spiritual foundation had just shattered. And I'm feeling it just right now. Like I just feel how just almost helpless and lonely. And I love how people's like, oh, when you're older, the divorce isn't really that big of a deal. That is so far from the truth. It's different because you don't realize how much you apply your spiritual foundation on your parents' marriage. I didn't have a clue. I never knew that existed, that spiritual aspect of yourself, like how you deal with things, how you process things. You put it on that bedrock that you think is your parents' relationship. And I come from this place because now I've learned, I have forgiven both parties. I've forgiven both. So now I can speak about this without getting angry, but I was angry. I was so angry. And I tried not to be angry at God, but I couldn't help it. I was angry at God too, because I couldn't understand how God could let this happen. That's how I kept on interpreting myself to say, how could God let this happen? How could he let him do that? How could he let her do that? How could that ever happen? How? That doesn't make any sense. We did all that stuff, right? That's the fallacy, right? We did all that for years. We did all those Shabbat gatherings. We were supposed to be invincible. We were supposed to be susceptible to this. This wasn't supposed to happen to us.
Wasn't part of the plan.
It wasn't part of the plan. And I felt like me going on my own, being complacent myself, I could return back to that bedrock whenever I wanted to. But that's where I think my problem was. My problem was that I felt that my parents' relationship is what would carry me through whatever. And that's incorrect. It's your relationship between you and the Father. And it took me a while to get to that. Because after the divorce, it was me being angry. And I just wanted to just hit somebody. I was so mad. I never did, but I did. I really did. Just was angry. I just how can this happen? Because I'm mad because my own foundation was shattered, right? So now I'm trying to figure out how do I deal with it. And that anger is what led into depression very quickly. That was almost instantly. That was the way that the enemy was able to go, aha, I got him. I've got him in a rock and a hard place. And now he's angry and upset, and he's also angry and upset with God. He's not going to turn to God, so now I got him. And I wasn't turning to the Father. I thought I was, but I was not allowing myself. I didn't want to feel love. I wanted it to be justified in my anger. I wanted to be justified for being right and angry about the situation.
How old were you during the time of your parents' divorce? So I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get a little time.
I know. I did not mention that. And it was, I believe I was 21.
Okay.
So that's like, again,
so by this point in time, you've been in Torah for quite some time.
10 years.
You've been pretty much raised in it.
Pretty much raised. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I've been hearing all this. And of course, all the time, it was divorce was bad. So I'm like, how can this be? How can this happen? This shouldn't be that way. This shouldn't be happening to us.
Right.
So again, too, what's also earth-shattering about this for me is what's shattering my world is that this was also the time where I'm just started to like really get to know the boyettes, Brittany specifically, right? This is right at the same time that all this is falling apart. And they're living kind of up where we were. And I was like, well, I think this girl is going to be my future wife. And now all of a sudden my parents are, how does this work? So now my mind's trying to make sense with me trying to start a relationship while the relationship I relied on the most was falling apart. And I didn't do what was right. And I pretty much ran from it. I pretty much ran away from my family falling apart to try to do my own thing, right? I was still trying to get on with my life. I was sick and tired of like, okay, no, this is my time. This is me trying to start my life. That's how it is. Again, it wasn't my fault. Of course, everyone says, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. I didn't realize that till I finally did get married in 2013, 2 years later, that it took about that much time to finally forgive. Like that, it's a long road. When you finally realize that forgiveness is the key to get rid of the anger, and you have to give up that right to be angry or justified in your anger, that's when real forgiveness actually has a way of coming in going, okay, now you can forgive them. Now you can actually show love again. But it wasn't instant. It was like, oh, and immediately it happens. Yeah, some people it did, but this guy, he was stubborn. That didn't happen. It was a process. It was a process for me. I had to go through and rebuild things. And something that I was so happy about was seeing how God worked in throughout that entire time, how he had actually cradled me. Like I thought I was on my own, but he was literally there, right there, just holding like, hey, everything's okay. But if I listened, then I would have heard everything's okay. It's all right. Because there's one story in particular. I'll just mention this one just to kind of sum up everything.
That's fine.
I remember allowing myself to think about all the things that depression tries to talk to you about. Everything from suicide to you're not worth it, all that stuff. I was allowing those things to come in. But the scary time is when you can't get those things to stop talking to you. And they just keep on getting worse and worse and worse. And it just keeps on hitting your head over and over again.
It's a dark, deep pit.
It's a very dark, deep pit. And everyone's different. But I know that the answer, in my opinion, the answer is always the same. You got to keep running to the Father. You got to find a way to run to the Father. Because when that happens, what's miraculous is when you do run, and that's what I did. I remember smashing myself against the wall. And I'm like, you got to stop. You cannot let these things keep talking to you. I was like, okay, the only thing I know is I got to pray. That's the only thing I know. It's the only thing I can go back to. And
real quick, during those times of depression, and I'm asking this because everybody knows that I've struggled with that myself. Did you have a very hard time? Like, as you said, you were smashing yourself up against a wall. Did you have a hard time running back and praying?
Oh, that was the hardest thing to do.
Now, it seems like
because you want to be justified in your depression, right? You want other people. You don't want help. You want to stay like this.
Yeah, like, you want to.
I don't want to talk to you. I'm trying to deal with this myself. And that's what you think, right? I'm going to deal with this myself. And that's just totally the wrong answer. That's yourself trying to – you stay in this loop, this internal depression loop. It just constantly keeps looping around the same way because you keep saying, no, I don't want any help. And then you don't really know how to ask for help, even if you're at that moment right before depression really hits you going, oh, I need help, and you don't know who to talk to, right?
But you also don't know how to describe it.
You don't, exactly. And I didn't know.
You know, everybody, I think, and I didn't mean to run on the rabbit trail of depression, but it seems as if the people who don't understand depression just see it as a deep sadness, and it's much more than that.
It's not really, it's what I know at my stage. I know other people that have gotten even worse in this than I ever did, but I know it was a self-pity, absolutely was self-pity. It wasn't about deep sadness. Yeah, I was sad of the situation, but it was more of I was pitying myself. I was in this perpetual state of self-pity. I was just constantly allowing myself to go on to that. Yeah, I could be happy during the day, but right at night was when it would just bam, it just clocked me right in the head and like, boom, there it is. And then I would try to deal with it, or just one little thing would set me off. And I was just a mopey person. I didn't want to do anything because nothing was worth doing it anymore. That's what I felt. That's exactly what I felt. Nothing was worth doing anymore because it's all for nothing anyway.
It's a sense of hopelessness.
Yeah, sense of hopelessness.
So what, going back to your story, what happened when you started praying again?
So that's what happened. That I realized then that was to me was my worst thing of depression. I had it every now and then after this, but after this it was gone. It really helped take it away, is that I started praying. I couldn't really bring the words out from my own mouth. So I actually read it from a Siddur, and it didn't take me long, because it was like, blessed are you, Lord our God, who loves, and that's over. It was over. I was just bawling. I was weeping. And I can't even describe where it came from. But that love, that word love is what it just hit me. And everything started to I felt like I had finally been like pulled out of that dark, deep web. I felt like I'd just finally gotten pulled out and I could actually breathe again. Like that's what it felt like. And I finally realized that I also have to choose love. And that's when it started going up. That was my bottoming. I bottomed out in that point in my life right there. And that's when it started going up. It took me a while to forgive, but then I realized if it started happening, keep running to the Father. And then I started realizing that I needed to look for my own personal relationship. And that's when it happened, when I got invited out to a conference, and boys took me there, and I went there because remember I'd been like wanting to work on Shabbat and all this stuff, right? I've been wanting to do that, and I didn't really care that much. Then when I went to this conference, and it was actually Rico Cortez was a teacher there that was speaking, and it hit me. I never heard him before, and it hit me. It hit me just right there. All the stuff I learned and the stuff that I liked to discuss about, he was hitting dead on, just boom, 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 and got on to worship. And then that worship, the power of God just fell. It was there. I could feel it, and I hadn't felt it since when I was back in like the church. I could feel it. I hadn't felt it since then. So over 10 years, I hadn't felt like the Spirit just fall and be in the midst. And I remember just breaking down sobbing, and I heard the voice of God go, "This is what you've been missing." And it broke me even more, because I realized how much I'd run away from the Father, and how much he'd been sitting there waiting for me to just reach back out and come back to him. That Shabbat was a day, and that's why I even to this day, I still look forward to 2 more days till Shabbat. 1 more day to Shabbat. It's like 1 more day. Then it's Shabbat time. That's when my brain stops around 2, 3 o'clock before Shabbat. It's like, all right, I have to go home, be ready for Shabbat. This is what I look forward to that day so much because it's a time of refreshing, right? So I realized how important that was, and it just hit me so hard. And that's when my personal relationship, that's when that fire hit me again. And this was all before being a part of Exodus Road Band. Like that was all before. Because then we'd been married. And then when Ryan came to the picture, and that was like, that was when the band was starting to come on, like maybe this is going to work. Then it really happened.
So the conferences you went to with Rico, that was before you got married?
Yeah. Yes, it was before I got married.
Okay,
yes.
Cool.
Yeah, it was before. I think it might have actually been a United in Worship, and now that we're actually trying to start back up.
Really?
Frankie again. I think it was.
That's not ironic at all.
I know it isn't. And that's why everything, and also too, everything works. Like he's got people doing certain things for certain reasons. It's just truly amazing. And that's what's blown my mind, is to realizing this. And what I realized too is that, I'll mention this because it was right before, like since we're right at the point of my story where I got married, that's when a lot of things really did heal, is that I was able to finally show love and talk to my mom again, because I held so much against her. And I realized that I had imposed that, because it takes 2 to tango when something like that happens. It wasn't my fault, but it was my fault that I allowed myself to get so angry and allow myself to become so bitter. That was my problem. That was my problem. That wasn't right for me. They had their own thing. It didn't matter. I'm my own person. I had to make the step forward and go, no, it stops with me. I need to continue pushing forward and now seeing what God has in store for my life. That's what happened with my parents. That's okay. God's in control of everything. I really truly realize that too. God is truly in control of everything. There was a reason and purpose for it. Who knows? Maybe it's a part of my testimony. It seems like it really was, is it really helped get me to get into gear. Because I was just on that road of complacency before then. Just didn't care. Then I cared. I really did. And I don't think I'll know fully the ramifications for why all that happened until maybe ever, maybe never. But I might realize more in the future. But I realized one thing when I got married, I realized there's a lot of work involved when it comes to being married to somebody. There's a lot of work when that happens. And I realized that it takes 2 to have those issues. And when that doesn't get resolved, things happen. I know that I'm oversimplifying marriage tremendously right now. I understand that. But for the people that are married that are watching this, y'all understand. Y'all get it. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So I hope to have a very, very long years of marriage with my wonderful wife, Brittany. Hopefully one of these days she'll get on talk with you too on this.
Absolutely.
Anyways, she really helped me through all this. She kept showing me love. And that was, I think, the biggest thing too. When I was in depression, she kept showing me love constantly. Kept showing love. That's what helps bring people out of it. When they see someone just full of love and just constantly in love, that helps you bring it out. And that's why I kept running. I kept running away from stuff happening because I wanted to go back to love. I just wanted to be around love. That's what most people are looking for. That most people are seeking love. So if you have a congregation, if you have the reason why they're coming is they want to be around people. They want to find love. That's one of the biggest things that I realized with home fellowship is people want to come and have love, just be around love. That's what it's really about. And if you can emulate that, you're gonna have people just keep coming. And they just want to just have that love. In the smaller, to me, it's almost the better. Couple families, it's when it's real nice. And everyone.
It's more intimate.
It is more intimate. And then when it gets to be big, it has its flair, but it doesn't have that small fellowship. So if your fellowship is small, I would like to say to anybody that's maybe listening to this, if your fellowship is small and if you think, I wish we had more people, you lose. There's a certain intimacy you'll lose and it'll be gone and you won't have it back. And it's great that you're maturing. It's great that you got people coming, but man, when it's a small group, wow, it's amazing. Because usually things get resolved and yeah, you'll get little squabbles, but they'll get resolved and there's love and that's great. And it's so healthy. So I'm going to get off that tirade of
You're fine, dude.
I think the fellowships are so huge and so key, and they're just awesome. So
well, it seems as if going to community and fellowship real quick. It seems as if you're not in fellowship or you don't have somebody at least in communication with. So for those of you that are watching, I know there are people that are watching overseas and stuff, and you don't have fellowship. If you can at least have people to communicate with online, to even do video chats with, do the Torah portion over video chat, make some way, somehow get a community together, get a fellowship together, even if it's just two people. I can't encourage that enough. I know it is very difficult to find fellowship in some areas because it's just they're nowhere around, especially if you're in another country. It seems like here in the States, especially in the Southeast where we are, it's a little easier to find fellowship. But I do know of places that are very difficult. But if you can find fellowship, even fellowshipping online or even tuning into some live feeds. I know we support Ruach Ministries, Hebraic Family Fellowship.
Yeah,
a lot of those guys. A lot of those guys do live services, or they have pre-recorded or recorded services that you can watch later on that are fantastic. Plug into those. Sorry, just a small plug for them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so I also wanted to bring back when we lived in LJ, when we were isolated for everybody, right? We had families traveling hour and a half away just to come up with us because it was like a retreat. They came up and it was completely quiet and peaceful.
Traveling is a big deal.
Like traveling is a big deal, and they would make the effort. Those people made the effort. They made the effort to come and do Shabbat with us. Later on, we started traveling to other people's houses so that it would help share the load with people. And I thought that was great. It can definitely work. Some places it really works well. Some places it does not. So be forewarned. But it's that was fantastic. But to have those things, and I really wanted to hit on something Dylan said, because later on, really been doing it for about a year or 2 years. Me and Ryan, we talk like every Friday night. We'll have just a really in-depth discussion. You've got to tap into that, Dylan, every now and then. Just do a nice private. We'll just talk about what we've been going through during the week. What are we struggling with? What are things that we need to talk about? Or is there something that's really bugging us? And I can't help you, but it's kind of like I've never been, but it really was like therapy. Like I've been to some therapy things when the divorce happened and everything, but it was like that. It's like this self-therapeutic thing you're going through. And it was all kind of focused on, okay, what's God trying to do in your life? Why are you going through those issues? Or like, and it helps send we're confessing into other brothers what we're dealing with, what we're struggling with, and we're able to kind of work things out. So I can't stress enough. If you can just find that one person that you can actually have a video chat over, it's truly is amazing. You'll see an improvement in your life if you just do that. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And I wanted to kind of, I guess, continue a little bit is where my story kind of gets a little different is that all my life really, I hadn't really been in music at all. My dad's dad was a musician. Didn't really get to hear him play though. And my dad could play some stuff, but really music in our house really wasn't the thing, right? We didn't have someone always playing guitar in the house. That never happened. So when I got to hang out with my wife's family, that was like every day. Totally sitting there strumming a guitar, playing something, or there's something playing, or that there's something always was going like there. The music was always there. And it was like, okay, this is cool and everything, but I tried like, okay, let me see if I could try to play the instrument or something before the band happened. I was just trying to play around, and it was hard. It was so hard for me to do. I was like, I don't know if I can do this thing. I don't think music's in me, right? I don't think that God could use me for music at all. So don't tell yourself that ever, because God's got a funny way of making that all fall apart, because then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a band is forming and I'm just sitting off the sidelines like, well, I don't know how to play something, so I'm just going to sit back and not do anything.
Yeah, God's like, watch.
Yeah, it's like God's like, are you really going to sit on the sidelines while this is all happening? It's like, well, if you want me to do something, I'll do it. It's like, and it was like, he didn't say anything after that. And then all of a sudden Tony's like, well, we need someone to play bass. It's like, okay, I guess I got to try. I guess I got to just try to do this. It was like right after that. It's like, well, I guess I'm not going to really be doing this. So they got all the people to do it. And Tony's like, we need someone to play bass. It's like, okay. Then later on, it's like, well, we need to figure out how to get the sound working. Okay, that's up my alley. I like technology. I'll try to figure this out. So sound and bass, I was like, okay, well, God, well, if you want me to do this, you just help me out. Make me learn this stuff real quick. Help me to find the people to talk to and how to get there. And I kept asking questions after questions. And then Ryan and Josh are like music theory gurus. So it was like, I'd have a music question, go, wow, how does this work? And then they would go off into music theory land and explain how it worked. And I was just like, okay.
As you told me, it's a code. God does not call the equipped. He calls the
exactly.
He equips the called. There we go.
Exactly. So that's when I realized. Then all of a sudden I started just playing up there. It took me some time, and it's wonderful if you get to learn an instrument and you're around people that know how to play it, because instead of you having to work yourself through it, they pull you up to their level. And that's what's truly amazing. I can't stress enough. If you can, it's amazing. And if you've always wanted to learn something, just start. Just don't give yourself excuses. Just start. I'm actually talking to you, Dylan, just a little bit. I'm talking to you. Just start. Just start playing chords. Just figure it out, because it's amazing when you could just sit there to yourself. It's almost therapeutic when you could just sit there and play, right? It's amazing. Right. So if you have wanted to do it, just do it. Just push yourself. YouTube is amazing. Just you're watching it here. Go search up and say, how do I play guitar? Just do it. Just do it. There's tons of resources out there to do it. And so that's what I did. I started watching YouTube. I started watching all this stuff, trying to see what could I learn, and then practice and practice, right? Just kept practicing. And I'm not as good as some other bass players out there, but I enjoy it. I enjoy being up there playing, and it's amazing. I've always been the recipient of how the Spirit will fall and hit people, right? And
now you see the other side of it.
And now you can see the other side where you're on stage when that happens. And it's still peaceful. There's no worries about what's going to be done. It just flows. It truly is an amazing thing. So I have to say, like, that's truly is wonderful and amazing. And that's kind of where my story, I kind of skipped a lot there. But overall, that's what happened. God just said, you want to do this? You got to jump at it. Just do it. And so then I had to just jump. Take the leap of faith and jump and go for it. Just grab it and take hold of it. Because then it was the Father saying, do it. You need to do this. If you don't do it, I'll find somebody else. That's something he really told me too. It's like, or he's been impressing on me more and more and more, is that if you're not going to jump and do it, there's somebody else that'll do it too. But I've equipped you your whole life to do this. You can do this. All the things you've learned, all the things you've done, you can do it. And if you don't know how to do something, I will send somebody to help you figure that out. Or I will give you the discernment to do it. You just have to trust and go, I know that you're doing this. And trusting in him is just huge. And that's what I'm still on right now. Right now in my walk with the Father, right? You call it the walk, right? The walk that I'm still at now, and I can't wait to give my testimony on this later. The walk now is still learning how to trust him when all of a sudden we get a phone call saying, hey, we need you guys to come out there. And we go, we want you guys to come out and play for something. And it's like, okay, we got to do it. Or like one instance, that true story happened where, hey, my son's about to die and he loves your song. We would love you to come play for his funeral. And that was a humbling story. Yeah, without any hesitation from any one of us, it was, yes, we're coming. Where are you? Where are you? We're in the middle of the United States. Fine, we're coming. A couple of days, we're going to be there. Whatever happened. And what's amazing is truly knowing when the Father sends you to go on those things and then financially supports you to be able to do it.
Yep.
The band, what we do as we play, we just know the Father's called us to do this. We know that the Father's called us to play and do this when he wants us to go and do this. That's why you're doing United in Worship. He's impressed on us very strongly that this is what it is, to try to bring people to try to understand more of the heart of the Father and to just be in that worship, to just try to come back, just go back to those times where we just want to just cry out and just worship him. That's all the reason is. We've learned enough. There's so much stuff out there for learning. We don't have anything to prove by trying to teach people or learn a new thing that someone found out in the scripture. that will always exist. That's always going to be there. He doesn't reveal everything. It's always for us to find out. But what's been lacking in this walk that I've seen from other people, and myself included, is like, again, like I said, we left the church, we walked in, we started knowing all this knowledge. But I can count on my hand how many times I felt the Spirit enter in. Whereas on the church, I know it happened a lot. And I remember seeing with even as a young boy, I remember seeing people just weeping and crying out and just going, wow, there's something else is going on here. This is amazing. And we lose that. We lose that fear of God. We lose that awe-inspiring when that Spirit just rests over you and all your problems seem to just disappear, or he gives you an answer to a problem and goes, here, this is how you're going to deal with that issue. This is how you're going to get around it.
Right.
So that's what we're truly about as a band. We're not in it to be a business. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, you're obviously in it for a business. You got this, you got that. No, God's blessed us to have the gear, to have the things we have to be able to go out to places. He's blessed us with that.
And y'all are doing a fantastic job.
We appreciate you telling this, but the thing we're focused on more is seeing those people have come, but then they get to meet the Father again that they haven't been around in a while. That's when it's amazing. So when they're in this place and then they're vulnerable and then they allow themselves to be vulnerable with the Father, that to me is just huge. You can see it when someone's being vulnerable with the Father, because then the Father just wraps them up. So that's where also I'm dealing with, is I'm trusting in the Father, and then I'm also trying to trust the Father with the gift that he's given me. I love how Rico said it before, like when God gives you a gift, only a king gives you a gift. It's for you to accept it. And I remember thinking about that, because God had given me a gift at praying, but I didn't trust how he wanted me to use it. And I started to take it lightly, and he took it away from me so that I could see when things would happen. He'd go, no, it's not for you to pray for. It's not for you to go to that person and pray for. So if you're watching this, if you've ever been to an Exodus Road band, sometimes we have time where we do prayer. And I don't lay hands on anybody unless I go to the Father first and say, Father, whatever you want to come out of it, whatever you want me to say to this person, that's what I want to speak. That's it. Because when he did give that gift back, when he did come back and say, here's that gift again, now use it when I want you to use it. And it's transformed. It's just totally transformed using a gift that God's given you. And that's why I'm on the edges. I can't talk about this too much, because I'm around the edge of learning a gift that God's given me. So I can't wait in the next 10 years to be able to talk about what's happened because of it. I'm looking forward to that part of the testimony. That's where my hope. I'm looking forward to seeing where God takes this and goes with it, because seeing people like actually being able to feel their pain that they're going through and try to help them see where the Father's moving in their life, or just to help get a sense of peace in their life, so they know that they're not in this alone, that they're not struggling with this all by themselves, that
right.
It exists. Everyone's dealing with it. Only certain people showing it, and some people are not showing it. So I'm looking forward to that tremendously. I cannot wait to see what he does in the future. But I know that
we can't wait to see what he does and you do it either.
Oh, thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing, because I know that he's working with a lot of people in trust. He's taking a lot of people through this, how would you say? It's almost like a roller coaster, right? Everything's fine and dandy, but then all of a sudden it starts really going good, and then it falls. And some people freak out when it falls in your own spiritual life. Like it starts to just fall, and you're like, what in the heck is going on? That's when you just got to grab onto it even more. So go, okay, you put me on this coaster, so you're going to get me through it. There's no other way. You're going to get me through this. So I'm just going to keep holding on to you, and we're just going to keep going through this. And what's amazing is then it turns into a ride, and it's actually, you could look back and go, that was actually kind of enjoyable. At the moment, I did not like it one bit, but wow, seeing where I am today.
Especially that first drop.
Yes. Seeing where I am today is worth all the bumps that was before. That's what I think the biggest part of my learning of a testimony is, that learning that all those things made you who you are today. And you can't say that I wish I'd never gone through that, because no, that's what made you who you are today. You can't. regret that. That's something, that's
Right.
a scar on you now. That's a scar that you can now look to and go, yeah, I went through that. Yeah, I got through it. Yeah, the Father helped me get through that. I'll make sure to preface that because he really does. And to really understand that the Father absolutely has the power to just bring you out if you let him. That's something I've just been blown away, is that we don't like the Father to take us out of things. We think we're justified in staying in where we're at.
Right.
Allow the Father to go, let me take you out of that. And that's so, that could be an entire probably discussion on just that. I would love to see if one of these able to talk about that. That'd be amazing, because that to me is what I've been learning more, is that issue right there is amazing. So wherever you're at, if you're listening to this, wherever you're at, nothing's too big for the Father. The Father can't handle. Nothing's too big. He can absolutely deal with it. Are you?
Absolutely.
Are you willing to let him deal with that?
Absolutely.
That's what I'll leave. That's what I'll leave anybody else watching with, that right there. Are you willing to let the Father deal with it? That's it right there.
Well, Dave, thank you for the testimony and the encouragement.
Yes.
It has been an absolute pleasure to have you on today. And
awesome.
Kind of a plug. I don't remember the dates right offhand, but I will put them in the description. United in Worship is there's one in South Carolina and one in Atlanta.
Yes.
I don't, like I said, I don't.
Let me make sure. I want to make sure I do this right, because I keep getting it mixed up, because it's in March and May. March is the, I think you can go to unitedworship.com. Let me just do that real quick. United Worship. And unitedworship.com. And yeah, we're still working on the details. That's why I'm kind of going through everything. I'm trying to work out the technical side of all this stuff.
It's all good.
Sure we've got everything. Make sure we got everything working out. But it's gonna be amazing. We went up to Founded in Truth, is where we're gonna have it up in South Carolina, Fort Mill, South Carolina. So go check it out, and just come as you are. Just come there and just be ready to meet the Father. That's what the United Worship's all about.
Yep.
Come and be ready to meet the Father, because that's what it's all about. We're all about you with the Father healing you in areas that you thought were not being able to be healed. That's what it's all about. Past things, whatever. That's what it's all about. So just come. Okay. It's not about teaching about something in the Word. It's about trying to find more worship aspects in the Bible. We have teachers. Those teachers are going to be focusing on worship only. It's all about worship. It's about finding out with worship. That's what it's all about.
We're definitely looking forward to it. Some of the teachers in South Carolina will be Matthew Van De Ailes, Cole Davis. Who else do we have here, Dave?
I don't think I'm trying to think of. I think we have. I know Matthew Van Der Ailes is doing it. I think Brad Scott might be doing the one in Atlanta. I think Brad Scott's going to be part of that. So,
but as far as worship, there will definitely be Mason Clover and the Exodus Road Band, along with many others. But anyway, check that out. I will put the links in the description for unitedinworship.com. And thank y'all again so much for watching and your support. Thank you for being on again today. Dave.
Yeah.
Tongue-tied.
Absolutely.
Hope y'all have a great week, and shalom.
Shalom.